Hello and welcome to Real Actors, Real Answers, the video podcast where you are the star. Today, I'm going to finally interview Debby Gerber. Debby Gerber is a phenomenal actress. She lives in Los Angeles, California, and if you know her at all, she does everything. I mean, on her social media platform, check out her IMDb as well. She's taking, I'm going to say this, Debby, you're taking the acting world by storm.
Oh man, thank you.
Yeah, because you're consistent and you are you have so many looks, so many expressions, so many characters that you play. How did you get involved?
Well, that's a long story, you know. Well, to start, I was born and raised in Switzerland, so acting, Hollywood is very far removed from how I grew up. Even theater was not a thing. I know now here in America, like you grow up with theater, you know, there is theater classes offered in school. We don't have that. So I was never really into acting. I never even knew that's a thing. It's what people do for a living anyways. I never really went to the theater, if anything, like the movie theater, but not actual theater. So I was not really ever in touch with that at all and realized that that is something that people do. Long story short, eventually, when I was 20, I had an opportunity to come to America for like 7 months. And that was really just to like study English before I would go back to Switzerland and become a social worker. I was on the path to become a social worker. But as we know, sometimes, you know, God has a different plan for your life. So those 7 months turned into 15 years and counting. So I basically stayed. I did end up taking classes. I started taking classes for fun at Stella Adler Academy here in Hollywood and Highland. And I just signed up for 2 months. And it was really just for myself to kind of get out of my shell, you know, kind of challenge myself, do improv, something I've never done in my life, you know, get up on a stage, something I've never done in my life. So I was like, I'm just going to do that because I'm in LA. Like, why not? It's what people do. And those 2 months were literally life-changing. Like my teachers there, specifically Tim McNeil, who is such an amazing acting teacher, actor, and writer as well. He very highly encouraged me to stay, you know, extend my stay and study more. And then even the head of the school, Jack Rogers, said the same thing and eventually offered me a scholarship to stay. So if that wouldn't have happened, I would have gone back home to Switzerland and become a social worker. So because I received the scholarship and the school was basically paid for, I was able to stay for 2 more years, graduated in 2011, and suddenly I was like, wait, I'm an actor. This was still so not planned. And then I just very slowly started to kind of try and understand how this industry works. Because now I'm coming from theater, right? So all I've done for 2 years was training in theater, but developing characters and script breakdown and all of that. Yet I still had no experience being on a set. So I then started realizing, oh, there's pages that you can submit to as an actor, like, you know, casting networks, Actors Access. I started doing student films, a lot of unpaid short films, just to get the experience, just to like be on set and understand what it's like, understand the wording, the words that they use, you know, and just from there, very slowly but steadily, kind of created a career. So it took 15 years, but you know.
It's wonderful. I always say experience pays, and it really does, because like any other job, if you know how to do it, eventually they're going to pay you because they appreciate your knowledge and your expertise and how you can take what you've done and practically, specifically on a film set, you know how things work, okay, which is kind of creative to say the least. You know, it shifts back and forth all the time. But if you know how to keep up, and like you said, that was very wise of you to allow yourself the education for student films, for independent films, things like that. That's how you build your life and your acting career, you know.
And I'll say I even then, soon after that, started to dive into like background work and then becoming a stand-in and a photo double, then on like bigger, larger scale movies. And I ended up standing in for like A-list celebrities, you know, like Amy Adams, Jessica Chastain, Lady Gaga. And that now I will always recommend for actors that are starting out because it's the best possible experience you can get on a big set. You know, you'll meet all the people, but you're part of the crew. You're not just background anymore. You're part of the crew. They see you in front of camera all the time, and that is literally how you learn how to move on a set, who is who, what is their position, what does the grip do, what does, who is the DP, what do they do? And I just learned by doing. And then, and eventually on some of the shows I got upgraded because they saw that I could act, because sometimes as the stand-in or the photo double, you have to act out the scenes with dialogue so they can see, oh, you're not just like a robot saying lines, you can actually act things out, and they can trust you. So I always recommend anyone that's starting out, get into background work, see if you can start getting some photo double or stand-in jobs. They're super invaluable. You can learn a lot from that. Yeah.
Plus, it must have been fun to work with Amy Adams or Lady Gaga. How are they? How were they to work with?
So far, I haven't had any crazy experiences, I'll say, because I did work with a lot of amazing women that are very well known in Hollywood or all over the world, I guess. And thankfully, so far, I haven't had any, because you hear stories from some people, but myself, I haven't experienced anything bad or anything like, oh my gosh, this person is awful. Like, not at all. Everybody I was lucky to work with has been absolutely kind, amazing. And then for me, again, as a young actor, anyways, watching them on set, like I would always go to wherever the camera was or wherever the monitors were, wherever I was allowed. And I would watch even before they started shooting just to like see their process and see, the few moments before they call action, like what do they do? Like how do they prepare? So it was so amazing for me to just sit and watch and learn and then be able to communicate with them. Because if I'm their stand-in, I have to talk to them and communicate things like, hey, here you have to do this, here you have to do that. And it kind of also makes you realize that they're just people. Like it kind of removes in a good way that like star power, I guess, because you realize like, what, we're both actors here. We're both working here. There is no like, you're better than me. It's like we're both actors, we're equals. And yes, you have achieved a whole lot and I have a lot of respect for you, but doesn't mean that I'm like below anybody, So that was,
they want you to treat them like you would want to be treated, a human being.
Exactly. Exactly. And they appreciate, I can tell that they appreciate it if you do not put them up on this pedestal. Like if you just see them as a human being, you talk normal to them, they appreciate that. And that's what makes them open up towards you as well. If they feel like you're like fangirling, they're not going to be like, super open towards you. But if you're just another friend, another working actor, and you're just doing the scene together and you're figuring it out, it just opens things up and it just makes things a lot easier and more comfortable. Yeah.
That's good to know, because they're people, outside of their job or the scene.
Yeah.
They do the same things that we do, generally speaking, living a life. So.
Exactly. I did a featured bit that I didn't speak in that, but it was a featured bit on, and I'm blanking on the name, but you'll see it in IMDb. But it was a film with Adrien Brody. And in between shots, they were setting up. I actually didn't realize it was Adrien Brody because if you watch the movie, you'll know why. He is so like his hair and makeup was so insane that I literally did not know I was talking to him. But in between shots, he would just come up to me and start talking. And I think because, I also didn't know who he was and it's just a general nice conversation. He started opening up about his family and about things that were going on in his life, that he would never do that if you would be like, oh my gosh, Adrien, I love you, So always staying, professional, obviously, but, just human, just normal.
Right,
will open up doors, I think, in many ways. Yeah.
Just to back up a little bit, I've been watching, your clips and different things on your IMDb reel and things. And I can see, because Stella Adler is one of my favorite acting coaches. Okay. Yes. What she left, such a legacy. Yes. I can see where you benefited in your characters, because here you are, like you are. Okay. I'm just picking one. I don't even know what movie it was, but you had your hair back. Mm-hmm. And you looked a little sad, but it was like, you look very emotional, very sad, and you're very intense. And when I say that, I mean you're very focused. Mm-hmm. And that has a lot to do with Stella Adler. how you're taught. It's very strict, actually. And did they make you, when you were there, did they require you only to wear black?
No, not at all.
Oh,
Not
no?
Maybe that was back in the day. I don't know. Maybe it was in New York. I don't know. But
Maybe.
definitely not in my days. No, because I was there 2009 till 2011. There's a lot of freedom to, be who you are. No restrictions in that sense. But all the teachers there, seriously, throughout, everybody there was absolutely incredible. Yeah.
Wonderful. Now, this is in the North Hollywood area?
No, this is in Hollywood, like literally like 2 minutes from where the Oscars are happening. So it's like on Hollywood and Highland. Like on the left is where the theater is, where the Oscars are happening, and just on the other side of it is where the Stella Adler Theater is.
Okay, nice. What was your most to date, because you're so busy, what was your most favorite role that you ever played? Can you pick one?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I don't know, because I will say truthfully, I really have been blessed to play some truly amazing roles. Some that are like, maybe feel as an actor, you feel like you make less of an impact, but then there's those roles where you feel like these are so rooted in the story and so important, where I feel like I can really reach an audience with that. Like those are the kind of roles that I love and appreciate. Let me think. I mean, just recently, I guess, there was a role, well, there was two really. One was on Deep Within. That was a proof of concept that we're currently in production to make it a feature film that premiered at ICFF this year. And well, actually it premiered in Florida last year, but we had it screened at ICFF this year. And that one, even though I was kind of terrified of this role because she's a geologist, and it's, again, me being Swiss, sometimes my English, I will have some barriers. So like the words that she's using and her vocabulary is kind of out there. So I had a lot of respect for that role, but I just loved the script so much. And then eventually when I got on set, I loved the people there. So that was one of my favorite projects so far, which is why I'm also really, really looking forward to actually then shooting the feature film. And then the other one was a project I shot last year in the Boston area, like Massachusetts. Same thing, it was a proof of concept, 15 minutes, but we're working on a 6-episode series now. And that one was a 1600 historical drama where I played the wife of a minister who was accused of being a witch and then eventually got burned at the stake. So that was
I saw pictures of that one.
Yeah, I'm sure you did, because I've been posting about it.
what a privilege. 1600s, period costumes, everything.
Exactly. So anything that I truly love, anything period film related, like be that 1920s or 1817, 1600, like anything that's not today or future, it's my heart. It's just, I love that. I love diving into history. Yeah.
You mentioned 1920s, you have that long string of pearls look, your face. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I could totally see you in a 1920s outfit and everything. Easy.
Yeah, I've been lucky to honestly do quite a few of those movies, like 1920s, 30s, and 40s. They're so fun. They're just the hair and makeup, the costumes, and then even though you speak English, but it's like, even though it's American, it's not necessarily British English, but it's still like the way they spoke was just so much more elegant in a way, a bit more like you have to really pay attention to how they spoke back then and the words that they use. So it's just like a whole different era. And again, as an actor, to dive into that and, do your research and see who those people were back then, like that's to me fascinating. And then to bring that to life, and then you step onto set, where you literally feel like you're in a different world. So it's just magical to me. Like I love that.
Now you touched on something that is really interesting. You said that they spoke differently. What do you mean?
It just feels like, well, maybe also because I'm here in LA, where people kind of don't care too much anymore about how they speak and the kind of words they use. There's a lot of swearing. I had to, like, when I came to specifically to LA, I did not realize within a few years I would pick up so many swear words, because here everybody says the F word and the S word like in every sentence. And me being European, you just try to copy paste and like pick up. So I didn't realize how badly I was speaking until somebody pointed it out. I was like, girl, you have a bad mouth. I was like, wait, what? I do? So things like that, where like back in the day, I feel like people were much more conscious of it, and certain words didn't, I mean, probably existed, but it just was used differently. You know, they paid more attention to speech and being smart, you know, and here I feel it's a lot like, yeah,
It's like slurry.
yeah, it's a bit more slurry. It's a bit more, I want to not like offend anybody, you know, but
I understand.
it's a different time. Times
There's
have,
not there's not a
yeah.
lot of care taking into how you are supposed to speak. You
Yeah,
know?
and I mean, it shows even if how they dressed, you know, just everyday people would always have their hair done. Men would wear a hat, sometimes a suit. Like it
Oh,
was
you're
just,
right.
right? It was just a whole other level of elegance and
Yes.
paying attention and being aware and making sure you look and sound good, you know? And today I feel like it's a bit less like, oh, well, we're in a pajama, who cares?
One of the favorite shows that I really love and appreciate is, and I could see you playing a role in it, although I don't know if they're filming anymore. Downton Abbey?
Oh my goodness, they're done, unfortunately. They've done a few films after the series, but yes, gosh, I love that show. I devoured that show.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Now there are things on the BBC that
Hmm.
they I could imagine you playing in a Sherlock Holmes movie, for
Sign
instance.
me up. All of that stuff. Love it. But then I have to really work on my British accent, so that's another thing. But you know.
Yes, it takes time to learn that.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah,
I've
yeah, yeah.
noticed listening to you though, there is a quality and a refinement, and I know where it comes from now through listening, from your roots because you're from Switzerland, and
Yeah.
so how you pronounce things and how your mouth moves. I
Hmm.
teach dialects, so
Yeah. Oh, great. I
um,
didn't know that. That's amazing.
yeah. So I really appreciate how you speak. You don't talk.
Thank you. Wow, I love. Thank you. I don't think I've ever heard that. So that's amazing. Thank
No,
you.
there's intelligence there. There's a lot of consideration.
Hmm.
Yeah, I deeply appreciate that. And on the flip side, when I lived in New York, I started to take on the Brooklyn accent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fun.
and it was just fun because I didn't know what I was doing. And
Yeah.
then, wait a
I
minute, what is
love
this?
it. I love accents. I
Yeah,
think that's beautiful.
it is. And I love how you. Now, question: do you have an agent? Silly question, maybe. Okay.
Yes, no, I do, and she's fantastic. I'll say I've had quite a few agents over these last 15 years of being in LA, and none of them ever worked out for me. Because I feel like I've gotten so good in self-submitting because I had to, because I never had anybody doing it for me. So if you want to work, you just do the work yourself. So I've gotten really good at that. So for some time, I didn't have an agent. And then I met the wonderful Jean Wenger from Treasure Coast Talent. Now, don't go out there and like submit to her because she's not looking for anybody new right now.
I know her. Keep going. Yes.
She's amazing. She's truly such a gem, and she to me was such a godsend. Like she's not just an agent. She really is, you know, like a mom. Like she loves all of her clients and she takes care of her clients, and there's no favoritism. She just loves everybody and wants to make sure that everybody gets to work and just cares. She has a big heart, and that is you don't get that very often, I think, in this industry. So she's
No.
to me she's very special. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. I believe I talked to her a few times, and she did say what you just said. She's not looking for anyone right now. Very polite though about the
Yeah.
whole thing.
Yeah,
She's
she will always again. She will open up her doors again in the future. She always does. But I think right now she is at the max of the clients that she just can have, because you know you want to make sure that you're not overloading your roster, and then you cannot pay attention to everybody. So
true.
that's only why. Yeah,
Very true. I think she was located in Florida at one time.
she was, but now she is down here in California. She's in I think Long Beach area. Yeah, so she's close to
Okay. Very nice area.
me.
Good. Good. Um, how does your family? What does your family think about your acting, your career?
I mean, I know from the beginning it was hard for them to understand the journey that I was getting onto. I mean, for me too, I said this wasn't planned in any way. It just kind of developed and started happening. So they kind of went on the journey with me. They never said no, you can't do that. No, you have to come home, which I'm very grateful for, because I know there are parents, understandably, that would be like, no, you just cannot do that. So in that sense, they were always supportive, yet had questions naturally, you know, of like, you know, is this the right thing for you? Is this where you're supposed to be? But because, you know, things started happening and doors opening and doors closing for good reason, and they have a lot of trust in me. I think they know that I make wise decisions. Not always, but, you know, most of the time hopefully I make good, wise decisions. So they could trust me, and they wanted to support rather than take away, or rather than stop me from, I guess, what I was supposed to be doing with my life. So,
which was a social work, correct?
Well, originally, yes. So for a long, long time, I never knew what I wanted to become. For some time, I thought I wanted to become a vet because I love animals, until I realized you have to put vet and animals down. And I was like, I'm not doing that, so I can't. And then my dad, I mean, he is was a pastor for many years, and then he transitioned into social work. So I kind of saw that growing up. I think I'm a lot like my dad, so it just to me came natural that I wanted to do that. And I actually worked with him for a year. He worked in a home for drug and alcohol addicts, and I really thought I felt called to do that, because I just kind of felt comfortable in that environment, you know, and with those people, and wanted to help wherever I could. But then again, just kind of took that 1 year break before going to school, and my life changed for the better, I guess. I don't know. And now, I think now that they see everything that I've done these past, you know, 13, 14, 15 years is now coming together and is now making sense. They know that I am on the right path and the right journey, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, you know, even though it was not always easy. I mean, trust me, there was a lot of, you know, deroutes, I guess, and a lot of, even for myself, of like, I don't think I can continue, you know, I don't know if I'm supposed to be doing this. And then it was them encouraging me, like, well, you can continue, keep going, we believe in you, you know. So my parents were and are still a very, very huge part of why I'm here and why I get to do what I do.
That's important. That's they just want you to be happy, ultimately find out I like what I like to call your divine design, because everybody has a different one.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. So you live in Los Angeles. Is it a tough business in Los Angeles?
Yes. Yes, it is. It is not easy. I think it's not easy anywhere, but specifically LA, yes, unfortunately, it's very tough. In one way, it definitely has taught me a lot, good and bad. But it sounds silly, but you know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It's just the truth. There's truth in that. And having made bad experiences, you know, you'll learn from those, and then you hopefully make smarter and wiser decisions next time. And you kind of start to realize the people you need to stay away from and the people that are good for you, you know. So with all the good and bad, you learn, you know, you move on and you do better, different next time. So unfortunately, yes, I've made a lot of bad experiences here. Again, that almost pushed me to the point of wanting to give up, because you just feel, you know, like not taken serious, or you feel like everybody wants to stab you in the back because they want what you have, or they, you know, some people get jealous, or what they don't see the whole picture, you know, and like friends turn into enemies, that kind of thing. Like I've had it all happen, you know, and I've seen it all. And again, working on the big budget sets, just as a stand-in and as a photo double, I've seen so much negativity and so much where it's just about the money, money, money. We don't care about anything but money, like that kind of mindset. That's crushing, you know. That's, especially for a young girl in Hollywood, getting negativity was crushing at some point. Yeah.
I took a class on the Meisner technique. Okay.
Yeah.
I love the Meisner technique, but they kept calling and it kind of hurt my soul. They called the movies that they were making a product, and it's like very abrupt. It's like product, it's a work of art. This is this is the product we're working on. It's like
a commercial spot, like you're selling a product, right? I'm like, that's
it's not a product. No. You know, I've learned though, what you're saying is very true. However, all of those things that you've experienced, that's life. And you could live in, I don't know, Texas or somewhere, and you could find that particular, there are good people, bad people, and you have to sift them out.
Totally.
You can't, you could live under a rock, but it's not very exciting,
Yeah. I think specifically here in LA, the competition is very big. I mean, now I feel like people are moving away from LA because we had those double strikes last year and, an impending new strike with IATSE. So a lot of people have moved to the Atlanta, Georgia area, Nashville, so I want to almost say maybe there's a bit less competition. But when we had the good old pilot seasons, which we don't really have anymore, but, before the streaming, we had pilot season every, January, February, March of every year. And it's just competition gets crazy, and again, it's just the mindset of me, myself, and I. And like you said, that can happen anywhere, not just in film, that's just a human thing.
Right,
but I think specifically here in LA, there's this kind of tendency for people to just think about themselves, and how to get themselves forward and kind of not think of other people and how to be kind, so yeah.
See, this is why I'm listening to you first time, face to face.
Yeah.
I appreciate you all the more because the very fact that you can see that shows me that you're not like that. Shows me that you deviate away from that, because it's not about me, myself, and I. It's about everybody working together like theater in a whole,
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you ever played a role of a veterinarian or a social worker?
I have played a role of a social worker, many times also doctor and nurses. Not as a vet yet.
Okay.
But also, this sounds crazy, but I've also felt like this last maybe 2 years or so, not that I'm saying I'm a social worker on set, but I do feel like sometimes on certain sets, people feel comfortable to open up towards me, and then we get into deep conversations, and I love that, and I'm like, wow, thank you for opening up, and I'm not a therapist. I'm not, I don't know, I'm just me, and I could just give you whatever advice I have, but it's more so, not so much about giving advice. It's more so just having an open ear and listening to them, I literally just was on set last week in Fresno for an amazing feature film. And we had real police officers on set. That was absolutely incredible. They were so wonderful to work with. And then the daughter of the chief basically was just hanging out on set. She was 15 years old. And we just dove into this history of hers and her family story and everything. And then an hour and a half later, she's like, wow, I don't usually open up to people. And that to me was such a, I was like, thank you. That made my day better, that I felt like she was feeling comfortable enough to open up. And so it's more so I feel like I'm not a social worker, but I can still use some of the skills and do that on set. And if that helps someone, then I'm like, yay, this helps both of us, makes my day better, makes their day better, hopefully. So
God has his way of placing you in a right place at the right time, and you don't know it until it happens usually.
Yes. Yeah, it's not like that you're seeking it out. Ooh, let me see who can I talk to. I don't know at all.
No. Actually, you need some therapy. I know. Yes. No, you don't do that. Yeah.
No.
Also, you don't, like I said, I have to say this again, meeting you in person. Mm-hmm. You don't have, because I used to live in California, and I'm going to move there again, but you don't have this, you have a gentle look about you, which has a lot to do with your, that you're from another country, and you brought it over here. But also, you have this, lack of a better word, an aura about you, okay, where you seem approachable, and maybe that's what people see.
I hope so. Yeah, maybe, and probably because I'm from Europe. I don't know. I'm like a unicorn. I
don't know. No, every time I meet somebody from, one of my students is from the Netherlands or from Europe, okay, or even from Canada, they have this. I'll just say it. I'm just going to say it. Many times I'm controversial, and that's okay with me.
Right.
Is that they're nicer. Okay. They're nicer. There's something about the US of A at times, and I'm not, skeptic or nothing, but there is a harshness, and this a spirit that is not very patient.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would also say it also kind of depends where in the US, but I think specifically cities like LA, like New York, like maybe Chicago, like where things are busy and crazier. And countryside, like I went to Nashville quite a few times the past 2 years, and there I definitely feel like, or Utah. I was just in Utah earlier this year for Sundance. Wow, people are gracious, people are patient, kind, and it does not feel fake at all. Like LA, a lot of it feels fake if they're nice to you.
Right.
So I think it very much like there's cities, I think, where people tend to be more rude in that sense because they're more stressed and there's more stuff going on, and then there's the more laid back countryside where people, and then even, you've got the Bible Belt too, where people are genuinely more,
Definitely.
I guess, friendly, more approachable. Like I walked into a coffee shop in Nashville and they played worship music. I was like, you could never have that in LA, I was like, I'm at home.
Wonderful. Yeah, so no, that's great. Louisiana people, I've like Louisiana people, like they're from another planet. They are a little bit in a good way. They leave their door open, and then neighbors come and just open the door, and it's like, "Hey, how you doing? Now come on in, have a seat."
I love that.
Yeah, me too. It's just very gracious and kind, and you go into a Walmart, I'll just say that in Louisiana, and how y'all doing?
Yeah.
Not just have a good one.
It's genuine. It's not just like, hey, how are you? It's like, no, genuinely.
Right. And that's the reason, I'm not going to talk about myself. Is that one of the reasons why you like this industry so much? Is it's creative, but also you get to meet great people?
I don't even know if it's technically me saying like I love this industry so much, because the industry, as said, it is hard. It's not easy, and it does keep me away from my family, so there's a lot of sacrifice there. So I wouldn't even technically say I love the industry because it is hard. But I love the aspect of creating something that hopefully can inspire somebody else or can, make an impact on someone else. So rather than just thinking of it as the industry, it's more so of what we're creating, what we're making, and the impact we can have with that product, right?
Yes. No,
that work of art.
Right. No, I get that. It's those moments, like you're a theater girl too. I'm a theater guy. We're at that moment that you're on stage and you don't know why, but the audience hears you and they don't say a word, and you knew you did something right and you made a powerful something, said something in a certain way, and they said, you've made me cry. I want you to know that, but I loved it. It's like, you don't know what you did, but okay. It's those moments or on a film, where that was good. All right, we're move on to the next scene. And you get this euphoric feeling. I got chills now. You get that euphoric feeling where I did something right. Thank you.
Love it. And same for if I'm an audience member, if I'm watching a film, that I'm being deeply moved by. I feel like we kind of, as humans, kind of need that escape in film, where we just want to turn our brains off, not think about anything, and watch something. And then we tend to get moved by it, or we laugh, or, and it's like we have, as actors and as filmmakers, we can have that kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm blanking on the word now, but an effect. We can have that kind of effect on people, so that to me is really why I do what I do. And I really didn't know that when I started, because again, this was not like I'm going to LA to become an actor. So I think I just kind of started to discover this on the way. Like this was such a journey of discovery that I'm like, because people would be like, why do you do what you do? And I'm like, I'm just doing it. I don't know. And now I have such a right. And now I have such an understanding and such a deeper connection to it. I know why I do what I do, and that it's important to me to tell stories. And not just any story. Because again, years ago, I would almost say yes to everything within boundaries, obviously. But, you're a desperate actor, you want to work. But now I turn down so many projects because I don't see the sense in it. I don't see or frankly, I don't want to portray a role like that, So
you're crafting your life is what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's like you're this potter. I mean, well, God's a potter, but you're on the wheel and you have the clay. And together beforehand, you're just like figuring things out, you know. Daniel Day-Lewis, I respect him very much because he turned down playing Lincoln in 2012 with Steven Spielberg like 5 times. He was terrified. He didn't want to play this icon, you know. And then they brought in Sally Field, and he kind of warmed up to her. It's like, all right, Steve, I'll play it. You know?
Wow.
But he only accepts certain roles. He's very specific, you know. And I love that about you already. You analyze. You think, okay, you know, how am I actually? What kind of person and actress am I becoming?
Yeah.
You know, because people will remember you long after you're gone. You know, remember what you did.
Not.
right.
You want to leave your impression. So, yeah.
Who is your favorite actress, living or dead?
Honestly, and this sounds silly because I have worked with her, but I am a huge fan of Amy Adams and Jessica Chastain. And it just so happens that they have red hair. And it doesn't have anything to do with it. But I just love their career choices. I love the characters they choose to play because it's kind of the characters that I would love to play, you know. And I love how they approach their characters, how much they prepare for it. And then now also seeing them on set and who they are and how they prep, I have such an appreciation for them. So they're high up on my list as well. And then obviously, I mean, who doesn't love Meryl Streep with her sense of character preparation? It's just, you can only hope and pray you get anything close like that, which I know I never will. But, you know, she's incredible.
You don't know until you know.
Yeah.
But series of unfortunate events, if you remember her with Jim Carrey.
Yeah, I know of it, but I haven't seen it.
Oh my, you must see it.
Yeah.
Make time to see it because Jim Carrey, of course.
Yeah.
But her performance in there, I don't want to spoil it for you, but she is this jitterbug that's all over the place. She's one big phobia. Her character is, and it's so hilarious because it points out the human condition of most of us that we're afraid of ridiculous things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you can't do that because this might happen or this will definitely happen. It's very storybook. Well, it's from a storybook, but definitely make time to watch it. You'll learn from her. Seriously.
Okay. Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you for that.
Yeah, she's been around since Dirt. I mean,
how many Oscars does she have? I
don't know.
Nominated a million times, it seems, and deservingly so, you know. So,
Women Wear Prada. Is that the right title? Have you seen that?
Oh, Devil Wears Prada.
I am so sorry. Women, no. Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah, no, that I've seen, and she's just and I heard Anne Hathaway was saying how she was like that Offset too, like talking about method acting. So she was really staying in character. And now I will say personally, that's just not something I can or would want to do. Because, you know, Offset, I kind of want to shake it off and I want to be me and like talk to people as me and not as a character. But I do respect if an actor can do that, because I just know I can't. I would break immediately. But that actresses and actors can literally do that and be on set and remain in character throughout the shoot, like Daniel Day-Lewis, like that's incredible to me.
Because that's the achievement, that's the balance. Because I know you think very highly of family. You mentioned that.
Yeah.
You have the work, you stay in character. I'm playing a psychopath. Thank you very much. Which I actually played once, you know. In real life, I can't even kill a spider, okay? But here he is, committed to the character. You're committed. That character needs you, okay? But afterwards, you know, and you stay in character during the shoots too? I mean, if they have to shoot multiples?
I mean, you mean during the day, or you mean just for like the week or the 2 weeks?
Like for instance, okay, we're going back to one. And then they have to shoot the same.
I would say it's rather easy for me to stay in it, yes. But then I said once we break, you know, like I have a break or we go for lunch or whatnot, I'm me. That's just like I prefer to do that because also I need a break from that other brain and that other thought, you know. And I will say I did play a character, when was that? Maybe a month ago or so, who was really, really evil. And that was something I had to consider, you know. I was like, do I want to portray a character like that, you know? But then I felt like, okay, it's a big challenge, you know, and I'll do it. And I will say that I felt like was harder to kind of drop in between. Like, she was somebody who was very entitled, you know, very rich, and would treat everybody like they're all below her. And that I felt like was kind of swapping into my in-between setups and stuff where it's like, whoa, 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 hold on. I'm Debbie, like, chill. Like, you don't have to speak that way, you know? So that was, I think, the first time where I felt like I've had a bit more trouble of like going in and out. But then the minute we're wrapped on that day, then I go home and I'm fine. It was more so from scene to scene, like the little breaks that we had in between. It was a bit harder for me to go be Debbie and then go be this woman and then be like, that was a bit like, woo, okay.
Right. People, non-actors, I say respectfully, but non-actors, many times they think that it's not really work. And it is. It's a lot of work. It takes your soul. It takes your mind, takes your body hugely,
Absolutely.
you know, and a lot of conscious thought, a lot of conscious, because we live basically in our subconscious most of the time, you know, but it takes a lot. That's what wears you out.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. And it depends on what kind of scenes you're shooting. You know, if you have a lighter day with lighter scenes, or if you end up having like super dramatic, very emotional scenes, and then you do those again and again and again, and that's draining. It's absolutely draining on your body, on your psychic, on everything. So yeah, and then people are like, well, you just got to cry. It's like, oh my gosh, it's not,
no,
not about the crying. It's about what's going on inside, you know, and the journey that this character is going through. And to portray that, and then sometimes you're feeling it and sometimes you're not, and then you just kind of have to find that middle way, you know, of making it work.
The one thing you said,
exhausted,
the one thing you said, it reminds me, I've had people ask me, well, David, because I'm an acting coach, how do I, excuse me, how do I cry on command? And I go, okay, let me ask you something. When you hurt yourself, when you cut your finger, when someone yells at you, or, you know, life happens, do you consciously, I'm going to cry now? No, you don't. It just comes from inside, you know? You can't do jealousy. You can't do sorrow. You can't do tragedy. You have to search inside and find, if not emotional recall, sense memory, which can be fun too.
Yeah. And I will also say, that's just my thing. Doesn't have to be everybody's, and maybe some people are like, what? But I'm also a believer in, just because the script says the character is crying doesn't mean you have to be physically actually crying. That's just my thing, because I feel like for us actors, we see and she cries, and then we try to push and make that happen rather than understanding what is happening in the scene, what is getting her or him to that place. And rather than focusing on, here I must cry, it's more so of like just being in the moment, letting whatever is happening in that time, in that moment, happen. And if it's not a tear, it's not a tear, but you're still true to that moment and to your feelings. And that a lot of times is way more attractive than just having somebody bawl their eyes out, you know, and then it's just cringy when it's not real anyways, when they're like forcing it and trying to make it happen. So I personally do not like when a director comes up to me and is like, well, okay, here, I need you to cry. Then I'm going to be like, well, you know what? I'm going to do what I can to see, you know, where the scene goes. And then if somebody, you know, maybe a more inexperienced director will just really be like, you've got to cry. And then I'm like, I'm going to do, you know, eventually I'm going to do it. But I just believe in, it's more emotional and more deeply connected 100%. If you see somebody dealing with something, you know, and you see that happening, rather than just the result of, and how you cry, you know. So that's just my thing.
You remind me of your approach to acting and everything that you've said. You remind me of Olivia de Havilland in Streetcar Named Desire.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah. That actually.
Yeah. Yeah, because her scenes in there were very intense. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But at the same time, you felt and saw that struggle back and forth. She was mentally unstable, but she was, you know, so many conflicts. That's what makes a character interesting, and they're a human being.
Exactly. And a lot of times I do see actors just go from one emotion to the other. And I'm like, wow, there was like no internal life happening. There is no like connection to the character. It's playing emotions, you know. and playing results of a scene, because again, they see, or like the stage direction points them towards a certain emotion, you know. So it's more so, and that to me is like kind of hard to watch when I'm like, but you're forgetting to really truly connect and be in the moment, and whatever's happening in the moment may not be what's written in the stage directions, basically, you know.
Have you ever has a director ever allowed you like to compromise different scenes, like to add, to take away a different word or so? Or
oh, yeah, all the time. Yeah. I will say less so on TV shows. Like they're very specific, and like the writers will get upset if you change an and or a but, or you know, because the writers are in the room obviously, and they love their work, and rightfully so. But there you have to be super careful with, like, you've got to be word by word. But I feel like in indie films, independent films, short films, feature films, people are way more chill about it and way more open towards suggestions and making things work for you. Like if something just feels more natural to say it this way, they're usually good with it. Sometimes they're like, no, we really want you to stick with what's written in the script. That's fine. But usually at least my experience has been that people are very open to, you know, improv or like wording it a bit differently or adding a word here and there. Sometimes I'll say, I'll even, you know, I'll talk to the writers or the director prior if I have an idea and be like, hey, I would like to change that. What do you think? Oftentimes, more than not, like they say yes. They're like, oh yeah, cool, do that. Sometimes they'll be like, no, just out of respect, we want to, you know, stay on script. So
sure, that's very professional.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, he's a playwright. He said just what you said. It's if there's going to be, if you want to change something, you don't do it on set in the middle. No, you take them aside, you know, beforehand. Otherwise, it throws everybody into a tizzy.
I will say I had another actress, I'm not going to say her name obviously because she's a great actress, but like I had another actress that I did a scene with, and I think it was more so for lack of preparation, that like she really didn't know her lines, so she just made things up on the fly, and that did throw me then a lot because certain cue lines I needed to then say my next line. So that just got really frustrating and awkward, and I could tell it was more so that she was just not prepared, you know, and like to kind of make up for like, oh yeah, let's just improvise. It's like, no, let's not, because you're not sticking to what the scene is about. Like you're just making it your own thing, and then it makes no sense, and then it just gets awkward for everybody. So as long as you're sticking within the realm of the scene and what the scene is about, you know, and you're just changing a few things here and there, like usually people are okay with that. But if you're changing the whole center and the meaning of the scene, and also because you're not prepared, maybe don't do that. Just be prepared.
No, it's an ensemble.
Yes, 100%.
Anyway.
Yes, agreed. Yeah.
Have you ever considered voiceovers, or have you done voiceovers?
I've done voiceovers. Yeah, I will say it's not my favorite thing in the world. I just love doing it in person, you know, with other people rather than just being in a booth by yourself. Kind of like it's just so less personal, less exciting for me. But yeah, I've done it because there's obviously this work out there. There is, you know, animation stuff out there. I do commercial stuff too, you know, voiceover in German as well, since I speak German.
That's what I'm detecting. I've been battling. It's like, what is that?
Yeah.
And you have that sharp tongue just in between different words. Okay.
So my native tongue is Swiss, or we can say Swiss German, but I do speak German, like the High German as well. So
well, good. That comes in handy.
Yeah.
If people wanted to find you, where would they go?
Social media, Facebook and Instagram, just my name, Debby Gerber. IMDb, that's more so for, you know, credits and reels and all that stuff. But it's just social media, really, Facebook and Instagram. As you can see, I'm very active on there. So
yes, you are.
I try to post not too many personal things, you know, but mostly like career related. But I also try. That's the thing. That there's a fine line between just bragging about your work or really just, you know, sharing the work that you've done and then wanting people to see it so they can hopefully be inspired by it, you know. So there's like a fine line. So it's, yes, acting is self-promotion, you know, it's what we do. It's how we move our careers forward. But I try to stay real on there. I try to hopefully stay real and grounded.
I'm going to use the word for you, gracious. You seem very gracious about things, you know, especially how you've talked to and educated me and educated everybody else, how to approach this business, and it takes time to be gracious. It's kind of like Downton Abbey. There's a curtsy, there's movements, there's a way you hold something, the way you sip something in a commercial. But I'm saying, I see, like here, I'm talking to Debbie, okay? But your characters that I've seen in your acting reel, for instance, yes, I know it's you. But boy, I know it's you, but there's that other person there. It's like this. I've seen this. And you do beautiful work.
Wow. Thank you. That's incredible.
Yeah. You stay in the moment very well.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I know what that is. Emphasis on WORK. It is work.
Yes. Yeah. And I do also believe in, it's just kind of, it was a process and a journey, but I do believe in like doing the work, doing the prep. But then once you go on set, it sounds silly, but you kind of do drop it and you stay in the moment. Like that's become my thing, where I feel like sometimes you prepare a certain scene and maybe it's not going to go that way that you thought it's going to go, because your other actor is giving you another vibe. And if you're not in the moment, if you're not connecting, then it's not going to work. Then you're not going to vibe together. Then you're not going to, have that chemistry together, whatever that chemistry is supposed to be. So I learned the hard way and the long way. And I trained myself really to just trust your instincts and trust just to be in the moment. And that's also with shutting out everything else that's going on around you. And that's not always easy. Just on that set last week, it was not easy because it was a very small room. There was a lot of people and it was just 2 actors. So it was very, very difficult to focus, and like not pay attention, but you gotta, just be focused and be in the scene, be present, and just be real. In the end, acting is like, it's really not acting. Like we're not supposed to act. We're supposed to be and breathe.
Thank you. You help me validate my own teaching, because I agree. You would not go back. You can't go back to ancient Greece and tell Socrates or Plato, no, it's not called acting. It's called relating. You can't do that. But I call it relating, because
there you go. I love that. Yes.
And you relate. How can I relate to this character? Yes. How can I not? It's like a marriage of sorts.
Absolutely. And I even had to learn, like this character that I played last week in Fresno, a movie that you'll see hopefully soon. Again, it was a role that I almost turned down because I was not quite sure, because it's, it's definitely stretching my boundaries and stuff like that. But I know the filmmaker and the director very, very well, and I know he's trustworthy, so for his sake, I did it. But it was, I really had to stretch myself for that. And now I lost my point. There was a point to that thing, because what was the last thing that you were saying of?
Relating, acting, relating.
Oh, right. So for me, it was real. Like, I really had to teach myself over the years to not judge a character, especially when you're playing somebody who's very far removed from who you are as a person. Then it tends to get very difficult to play someone that, has bad intentions or has done something bad in their lives. Me as Debbie, to then not judge that person is hard. So with this character, for example, she's a homewrecker, and that was something that I'm not comfortable with and not comfortable portraying, because I know the audience is going to hate her, So I had to go back and into her history that was not in the script, and I don't do that with every single character, but with her, I needed to create some kind of a backstory to understand why she is who she is today and what made her become this person and made her do what she's doing, and almost justify her actions so that I can play her without judging her. Because when you judge your own character, I think it's going to read on camera, So for me to be able to hopefully do that and let go of that, and that I think is what allowed me to then be present in the moment, and drop everything else that was happening and just allow this person to be,
That is that's genius. You make up your own backstory.
Yeah, and that's something that at Stella Adler they teach you. Like, definitely, they're very, very big on creating your own backstory, especially if there is no backstory in the script. Sometimes there's very, very heavily detailed backstories on characters, and that's amazing, and you can work off of that. But sometimes there just isn't. and it's just a character that pops in and leaves again, you know, and then depending on how deeply connected they are, you then, it's as an actor, it's on you to make that character real. And sometimes that means you got to create this person. You got to find out who they are and where they come from. And again, you know, certain moments in their lives that had an impact on them and made them who they are today. So Stella Adler
gives you a reason to pray, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, Lord, help me, because this is bigger than me, you know?
Yes. Yeah. So, many times. I've had that prayer many times.
Debby Gerber, it's been a privilege and an honor to finally meet you. I thank you so much for being on Real Actors, Real Answers.
Thank you so much. I super appreciate you, and all your questions were wonderful too. So thank you.
You taught me a lot. We'll be watching you.
Thank you. That's not creepy at all, but you know, the life of an actor.
All right. You have a great day. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Talk soon. Bye.